Today, we reacting to Rappers of Trap by Chill Review. We'll see what he got going on. Let's go.
So, this is a video I originally made back in February after the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, my computer sort of broke while I was putting the finishing touches on the video, and I am just now getting around to remaking it. So, do me a favor and act like it's February and that you just watched the Super Bowl halftime show with Kendrick Lamar. Cool? Okay, let's do this. So, that whole Super Bowl performance was pretty crazy, right? I mean, regardless of whether or not you enjoyed it, you have to admit that a rapper...
I think that shit got too much hate personally. I think it was a great representation of the culture. And I think, a certain group of people didn't like it either because, one, it was, gawking on Drake. Or two, they just didn't like the culture in general. So, you know what I'm saying? We really got to see who was a part of that and who wasn't a part of that. So I think that was really great for the culture, me personally.
doing a mostly solo performance at the Super Bowl and performing the biggest diss record of all time to an audience of millions at home is kind of a big deal. Again, regardless of whether or not you enjoyed the performance, the mere fact that it happened is one of the biggest moments in the history of rap music. And that's big because rap is a genre that is infamous for sustaining itself by eating its own artists and profiting off their funerals. I mean, if it wasn't for Drake literally being too successful to die, Not Like Us and Kendrick's performance would have served as any other rapper's nail in the coffin. But to me, what's more impressive than a hip-hop artist being the face of the biggest annual concert of the year, or that the biggest moment of that performance was a diss record, was that the two rappers involved in it were Kendrick Lamar and Drake, two men who are almost 40 years old and have managed to not just survive, but consistently thrive within the music industry as hip-hop artists. If you go back through the entire history of rap and hip-hop, you'll find it damn near impossible to see a rapper over the age of 35 that is the face of the genre and still making quality and popular music at that point in their career. But in the 50 or so years that hip-hop has existed, there's only been like 3, maybe 4 or 5 guys who fit that same description. Rock and roll, pop music, country, jazz, metal. There are countless ageless wonders who managed to have hit records and albums across multiple decades in those genres. One-hit wonders and short-lived artists are prevalent in all genres of music. But there's something about the way that rappers fall off that is very different and has always been interesting to me. After years of being an avid fan of hip-hop, and more specifically after reflecting on 3 of my favorite shows that address this topic, I have come to the realization that, more so than any other genre in the music industry, rap is a fucking trap.
Admiral, we have enemy ships in Sector 47! It's a trap!
At this point, I have completely run out of ways to introduce the Boondocks in these videos. This was never meant to be a Boondocks-specific channel, but you wouldn't be able to tell from how many times I've talked about the show over the last few years. Clearly, I love the Boondocks, and I love it for many different reasons. One of my favorite aspects of the show is how it depicts rappers and the culture of hip-hop, specifically the 2000s era of bling rap. In terms of commercialism, hedonism, and other bad isms, this era of hip-hop was definitely the worst. The bling era of hip-hop was the result of gangster rap being fused with catchy pop rap, where the pop rap of the 90s had a more laid-back and chill vibe to its take on an extravagant and luxurious...
I like that. I like those styles of raps, man. Like, I ain't gonna hold you, that's really what I came up on. I'm from the South, so like, you know what I'm saying? The little Skittles box truck with the 212s in the back, you know what I'm saying? They will always bump that little bling bling shit, so I ain't gonna lie, my ears are just used to that. But, I mean, I can see where he's coming from with the, poppy, copy and paste type of style, but at the same time, you know what I'm saying? I feel like there were a lot of bad apples in the bunch, but there were a lot of good apples too, because there were a lot of folks that could actually spit, but it was probably just like, the common sound that, made that shit die down personally. But I think that's really what any era, bro, people just start reusing, and they see the formula for this certain day and age, and they don't try to like expand the formula in any way. They just try to mold it into, they don't really mold it into anything. They just kind of try to put the costume on, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, I feel like that's for any era personally.
lifestyle, the 2000s was much more loud, flashy, and cartoonish. So who better to serve as a representation of that era's music and its artists than a loudmouth rapper from the slums of Georgia who wore big platinum jewelry, rocked giant afro puffs, and made songs about stomping people in the nuts.
Stomp 'em in the nuts. We'll stomp 'em in the nuts. We'll stomp 'em in the nuts. I'ma stomp 'em in the nuts.
Oh, and of course his rapper name had to be something hilariously outlandish like Thugnificent. Thugnificent is officially introduced into the Boondocks in Season 2, Episode 5, fittingly titled
My top 3 adult cartoons. I got Boondocks, I got South Park, and I got Rick and Morty. Now, Rick and Morty, it can be swapped out, because you know what I'm saying, it's not as I mean, well, it probably is now, but it's not as like, how do I say, like cemented within like a legacy, like how like a Family Guy or Simpsons is. Like, I mean, I fuck with Family Guy. I mean, I used to look and watch The Simpsons, but I don't really fuck with that shit like that. So, but yeah, I fuck with all those shit. Those are my top 3. Let me know what y'all is in the comments.
The Story of Thugnificent. Off the strength of hits like Mood 'em Butt Cheeks and Stomp 'em in the Nuts,
Stomp 'em in the nuts. We'll stomp 'em in the nuts. We'll stomp 'em in the nuts. I'ma stomp 'em in the nuts.
he gets enough money to move himself and his crew into the affluent suburbs of Woodcrest, where the main characters also happen to live. As soon as he arrives, his destructively lavish lifestyle is instantly felt by the neighborhood. He's blasting music, riding big trucks through the streets, and throwing parties that last all throughout the night. He's living the life that you would expect of a successful, mainstream rapper with a big record deal. Life is good for Thugnificent in his introduction, but as the show goes on, we start to see more.
See, me personally, once I get my little, yeah, I mean, I ain't gonna tell y'all what I do with it, but I'm definitely not gonna go out like Thugnificent. I ain't gonna hold you, bro. I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like a person doesn't really need all of that to be, I mean, I won't say happy. I mean, yeah, nobody needs all that to be happy in general, but I don't know. I just feel like I don't need that to do the job, to do my job. You know what I'm saying? I want some low key shit, some chill shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm not really with all of that out loud extravagant shit. I might get the little watch that shine like his shit though. I ain't gonna hold you. That shit bussin'.
More and more cracks in the lavish image that he portrays. We find out that the jewelry that he and his crew wear is fake. We find out the grand mansion he lives in isn't as grand as he makes it out to be. We find out that his music is not selling as well as previously thought.
And that's why you don't do shit like that. You save check. You invest in different things. You always invest in different things. If you got this rap thing going, like, see, you even got this YouTube thing really popping, like real estate, business, endorsements, like ads, all of that, bro. You gotta get your check. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't sit there and like fake it to make it. I mean, like, I understand, like, you might gotta fake it to a certain extent. Like, I don't really like saying that, but you know what I'm saying? That's just true in this day and age. You might have to fake it to a certain extent in order to, like, you know what I'm saying, get in the door or get to where you gotta be. But at the same time, bro, that's where the real work starts. Once you get in that door, you're not supposed to fake it no more. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you already there. Just rebuild, you know what I'm saying? Not rebrand, but, you know what I'm saying, rebuild, like, pocket-wise, you know what I'm saying? But
all snowballs into the season 3 episode titled Riches to Rags, which fully depicts the rapper's downfall from chart-topping success to everyday average Joe working at UPS.
Yeah, man, all the paper is in reality shows right now, nigga. The music industry did.
Thugnificent found lightning in a bottle at the start of his career and was able to capitalize on that and become a rich and successful rapper. But as Dr. Dre once told Kendrick Lamar regarding what it's like to make it big as a hip-hop artist, anybody can get it. The hard part is keeping it.
Yo, what's a documentary of a rapper that fell off that y'all would love to see in the form of like a riches to rags type of story, bro? Let me know.
Thugnificent became popular because people loved his sound and his image, but once that sound and image was no longer popular, he wasn't able to adapt to the quickly changing tides of the music industry. Because of that, he became another casualty to the game.
And that's another thing we got to focus on. You can't fall into the lackadaisical sound of everything else. Like, the sound of the current day and age is you're supposed to manipulate it and use it to your advantage. You're not supposed to mold it into what you are. I understand if you're the originator of said sound, but at the same time, even if you are, you're still, like, I don't want to say what anybody's supposed to be doing, but in my head, I would like, you know what I'm saying, just keep trying to experiment and find that next best sound, or try to keep pushing my sound forward to a thing that nobody's ever heard before, type shit. You know what I'm saying? And like, I understand everybody has their eras. Like, you know, Cardi got his Playboy Cardi era and Dilet era, and you know what I'm saying? He rapped different in those different little spaces of years of time. So I mean, I understand that, and that's like kind of a beautiful thing. I love that. That's fire. I feel like if there's any artist that is upcoming and aspiring to do anything, they should, I mean, I don't want to say copy that formula, but just look at what he's doing with the, you know what I'm saying, spacing out his eras and switching up his styles. Like, that shit fire. And that's how all the GOATs did it. That's how Wayne did it. That's how Jay did it. That's how X did it. Like, that's how everybody did it. Like, you gotta keep changing it in order to reach that next level. And I feel like that's not what a lot of people want to do. They don't want to sacrifice what they already know, and they feel like it's, I mean, I don't want to say they feel like it's too hard, but in their head it probably doesn't make sense, because it's like, man, all this money coming in, you know what I'm saying, I'm charting, you know what I'm saying, but at the end of the day, bro, only lasts so long, you know what I'm saying. But that's just my little input on it.
This is the very reason why many artists, not just rappers, fall into obscurity. The difference between many rappers and artists of other genres is that many times, once they fall off, rappers are not able to find other ways of making money outside of getting day jobs like Thugnificent had to do. As I said before, there are a bunch of artists from other genres that are able to live very comfortable and sometimes even continue their lavish lives off of the few hits that they made in their heyday, just performing wherever they might still have fans. For anyone who knows what the Warped Tour is, that alone is a great example of what I'm talking about here. So many rappers got into the music industry thinking that they would have a similarly long-running fate, only to have everything cut short and for them to be left with nothing when it's all said and done. The story of Thugnificent is a warning. It's a cautionary tale of how quickly fame, money, and power can come and go. And if you aren't smart about how you sustain it and plan for your future, you can end up losing it all in what feels like the blink of an eye.
I always wanted to do this rap thing. And then, you know, by some miracle, I actually pulled it off. I just thought it would last long.
Another show that I've talked about many times on this channel and also covers this topic of rap being a trap is a great series called Atlanta. Unlike the Boondocks, which focuses on many different aspects of black culture and doesn't really have a main plot or storyline, Atlanta is all about a rapper named Paperboy and the trials and tribulations that he and his friends face while they try to make it in the music industry. Paperboy, similarly to Thugnificent, is a rapper from the slums of Georgia. He's missing the Afro puffs though, so not one-to-one. But unlike Thugnificent, who was a sort of caricature or clown, Paperboy is a legit hard-nosed drug dealer who commands respect from those around him. He's not in the music industry to f around and have a good time. He wants to get paid, stay paid, and make sure he never has to go back to living like a savage in the slums of Atlanta. The issue, much like Thugnificent, is that despite his early success in the start of the show, his look, sound, and criminal public image quickly become outdated, and he's forced to adapt in order to last longer in the music industry. Al, or Paperboy, has one of my favorite character arcs in Atlanta because he starts out as someone who's too stubborn to change their ways, even though
Atlanta is one of my favorite shows of all time. But let me tell you, that shit fucked me up so bad when I saw Cub. And for one, in that Bullet Train shit, and then there was this other shit, I can't remember the movie, but it just messed me up so bad, bruh. It messed me up so bad, bruh. I'm not saying I see dude different. He's still a great actor. You know what I'm saying? I fuck with Cub. But, you know what I'm saying? Atlanta, GOATed show. If you haven't watched that, please go watch that.
Who he currently is actively holding him back, but he evolves not to be someone he's not, but to be someone who's crafty enough to get what he needs without compromising who he is at his core. Whether it's labels that don't understand the culture but still think they know what's best for his career, or people discriminating against him for his public image as a heartless thug before even getting to know him, or even the pressures of his fans to stay real and not conform to the industry, even though not conforming to the industry could lead him to getting left behind. Despite all the typical rapper-specific trials and tribulations that Al faces throughout the series, he manages to adapt and overcome them. After spending the first 2 seasons grinding and coming to terms with who he is as a man and as an artist, we see in season 3 that it all starts to pay off and he becomes one of the biggest rappers in the world. The issue comes in season 4 when, in the blink of an eye, he makes the dreaded evolution all men eventually face, going from bro to unk.
Little niggas is from 8 to 14. YNs is from 15 to 25. 26 to 35, 34. That's big bro. 36 to 44, that's them.
Suddenly, he's no longer the cool new rapper that everyone loves. Now he's the old OG that the new generation struggles to even remember.
I'm Paperboy. The rapper, Paperboy, you know?
Oh, you the dude my dad bought.
His skill as a rapper has not changed. His core audience has gotten old.
That's crazy. You're the dude my dad, but we ain't even gonna get deep into that, bro. I'm gonna just let y'all think about that one.
Older, but they still haven't changed much either. The issue is that the industry has changed, and the average fan is starting to move on from him and his era of rapper. It's in the season 4 episode titled Born to Die that we see all of this go down. The episode depicts everything I just explained about Paperboy quickly becoming a washed up has-been, and some fellow rappers explain to him how he can still make money despite this inevitably happening. Basically, he has to get a young white avatar, which, yes, sounds hilarious and ridiculous, but also has some real world merit to it. But while this is a funny example of the way a rapper can stay relevant, the realization this episode brought me to was that damn near every rapper that has managed to stay relevant and successful over the years didn't maintain their success through their music, but rather through their business ventures. Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg, Ludacris, 50 Cent, Ice-T, Jay-Z, Common, Kanye West, they're all famous for other shit besides.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying before. You have to invest not only into the music, but yourself and your likeness, because that's just important. I didn't understand that a while ago. So, like, let me run it down. Like, before, I would be on some, you know what I'm saying, I'm not going to show my face. I'm going to be on some, you know what I'm saying? Like, falling into the same track everybody on. Like, I'm going to be mysterious, and, like, somehow this shit just going to pop, and I'm going to have this, like, mysterious aura, and I'm going to be like, oh. But at the same time, bro, you got to be relatable, bro. If you're not relatable, nobody's going to mess with you. Like, when you think about Cardi, bro, Cardi was relatable when he was coming up. He was just like a young teen from the ATL who was into fashion and doing, you know what I'm saying, drugs or whatever. And he made, like, you know what I'm saying, music that resonated with that, and the people that messed with that too. There was a lot of people on that around that time. Y'all niggas don't try to do that. I mean, but at the same time, like, it's just do it comes to your mind, of course, but you gotta build likeness just as much as you're building up your music type shit. So just keep that in mind.
It's music. Granted, some of them still do make music, but I would argue most people who are current fans of these artists wouldn't really care about any new music that they might release going forward. What was the last Ludacris song you remember? How many albums has Ice Cube dropped in the last 15 years? Snoop Dogg just dropped an album like 2 months ago. Tell me one song from that bitch. I'm guessing you can't, but I bet you remember seeing Snoop perform at Trump's inauguration ball. Which, man, what a disappointment that was. But anyway, my point is that these are all rappers who in one way or another realize that rap is not forever. Hell, it's not even close to long lasting except for a very exceptional few. So many rappers of earlier eras fell off into the void when people stopped listening to their music, but these rappers and many others like them realized that they needed another way to reach the masses, whether that be fashion, acting, starting their own labels, or their own businesses completely unrelated to music. Is Pearl Jam starring in the next Fast and Furious movie? Does Metallica have their own brand of liquor? Does Michael Bublé have a new line of sneakers? Does Mariah Carey have a small ownership stake in an NBA team? If they do, I haven't heard about it, but I have heard about the other rappers I just named and many others having outside ventures like those. For whatever reason, rappers don't have the same shelf life as other artists, and it's been interesting to see rappers realize this over the years and get better and better at diversifying their portfolios to stay relevant and stay rich. Speaking of rappers and portfolios, I finally got around to watching a show created by one of my favorite rappers on Netflix. It's called The Vince Staples.
I feel like personally that happens because of style. Style changes so much, and I feel like music and style go so hand in hand, like music and fashion, that is just like, it's just gonna always change within every 5 years. Like every 5 years, you're gonna get a new wave of folks that are just like, you know what I'm saying, just completely different from the last bunch. And I don't even think it has to do with generations even. It's just like different progressions of the last style, and people maybe want to go against that certain style, like counterculture and stuff like that. So that's what I personally feel like.
Staples show, and it stars Vince Staples, the rapper. Vince Staples is kind of an anomaly in music, and by anomaly I mean that there's not really a box that you can put him in. Yes, he's a gangster rapper from Long Beach, California, but a majority of his music is not the typical West Coast gangster rap sound that you might think of. From his interviews and his appearances, he always comes off as a very funny person, but if you really look at him during
At this point, if you're gonna call Vince a gangster rapper, you're gonna have to call Kendrick a gangster rapper, because I'm not gonna say they rap about the same things. Vince is more like from a street point of view, and Kendrick is more from like a different perspective now. But like, I don't know. I don't think Vince is a gangster rapper. I feel like he's more of a like an introspective type of artist. You know what I'm saying? Like he got a real good pen. Like he can like paint visions. You know what I'm saying? Like, not saying that gangster rappers can't do that, but if we talking about a gangster rapper now, then probably not. Cause like when I think of gangster, I'm thinking of WAP, I'm thinking of Dirk, I'm thinking of, you know what I'm saying? People like that. I don't think Vince falls into that category. I feel like he's more like an introspective. I'm not gonna say conscious, but he's more like an introspective, and he can paint a picture with it. So yeah.
these clips of him saying funny shit, everybody else is laughing, but most of the time Vince looks very stern. Almost as if none of what he's saying is meant to be funny, but it just kind of naturally is.
Favorite thing to do outside?
Go inside.
Are you gonna start your third album or master your chili recipe?
It's my business.
Yo, they think this nigga be playing. This nigga's dead ass. He's dead ass serious.
Grossest thing you've ever seen or smelled?
Where do y'all be at to like be having answers to these things?
And despite being a popular rapper, he's always been very private about his personal life. So there's never really been a sense as a fan that I actually know the real Vince Staples. One thing I can say for sure about Vince Staples, though, is that he's definitely not dumb. On the contrary, he seems to be very smart, and smart people tend to realize things that most others don't. Vince Staples can rap, but by his own admission, he's never really cared much about rapping outside of a way to make a name for himself and make money.
I just feel like to a certain extent, if you can make it out of a certain environment, bro, you gotta be smart to a certain extent. And I don't even think like there is a certain difference between street smart, book smart, or whatever. But if you apply certain like tactics and certain disciplines that you get from your street smarts, you can easily succeed in any other plane or field, whether that be business, music, school, whatever, bro. It's just all about your mindset. And most of the people probably think like it's hard to like start off and do this, but at the end of the day, bro, you really just have to do it. That's all you gotta do.
Money. Rapping is just a job for him, not necessarily a passion. Unlike many artists who choose music as a profession, it doesn't seem like Vince wants to rap forever. He wants to do it while it's profitable, and as soon as it stops providing for him, he will most likely stop and will never make music again. So when I heard that he created his own show, somewhat about his life, I imagined it would be about the struggles he faced as a rapper. I think the most surprising thing about the show is just how little of actual rap-related subject matter there is. It's as if Vince purposefully added as little rap content into the show as possible, as a sort of protest of the idea that a rapper's only important trait is the fact that they're a rapper. The Vince
I like that. And he's always been about that, bro. I fuck with that.
Staples show is sort of a meta example of the topic of this video. Vince Staples, the real-life artist in person, figured out early in his career that rap was a trap, and he knew he needed to find more reliable ways to make money. So he created the Vince Staples Show, which is all about Vince Staples the rapper in the show, realizing that rap is a trap and trying to find a more reliable way to make money.
In order for you to get paid, the people have to be entertained. They have to laugh, they have to dance, they have to get lit. But one day, eventually, they stop getting lit. And when that day comes, and it surely will, we still need our money.
Basically, the running plot of the show is that Vince has an idea to make his own brand of cereal, and he goes through some hoops and hurdles to get the funding to start the company. During that process, a whole bunch of other bullshit happens, but the cereal idea is the sort of connecting thread throughout most of the episodes. The show is funny, dark, weird, and even pretty sad at certain points. Also, season 2 is coming out soon, and I definitely want to wait to watch that before I give my full thoughts on anything. Most importantly to me as a fan of Vince Staples and someone who wants to see rappers thrive and not fall off into obscurity, it's a really good sign of things getting better. Vince is my age. He grew up watching the same rise and falls of bling era rappers that I did, And now that he's become the next generation of rap artists, he's shown that it's possible to learn from the mistakes of the past and push for more than just what rap and the music industry can provide. Rap and hip-hop have become one of, if not the most popular and influential music genres.
I wonder how it's gonna be like this next generation, like my generation, like how it's gonna be with our folks, like watching these people coming up, and like how our game is gonna be, like when it comes to like maneuvering this whole field, and like, you know, even like towards like the content in which we rap about and stuff. Like, I mean, we always gonna have that shit, you know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying, as far as like the intellects and the people that are really like trying to push that culture, I wonder how, and you already start to see it like with like Deontay Kyle and shit like that, but I wonder how that's gonna like look when it comes to like the music angle and like even like the artistic viewpoints and stuff like that, and like philosophies
in the world. But despite that, there still seems to be a negative connotation that comes with it, almost like a lack of respect for rap as an art form from a lot of people, even those who listen to it. Due to many factors, mostly racism, I'm sure that stigma can never really be shaken. Because of that, I believe labels will always see rap as a trap to ensnare unsuspecting black men and women by selling them a dream of endless fame, money, and power, knowing that the end result will almost surely be an empty tragedy. Careers in artists should always be looked at as more of a stepping stone than a final destination. People and fans can be extremely fickle when it comes to what they like and what they care about. You can never really be sure of when it is that people will stop caring about you and your art. That's why, to avoid the trap, you have to be able to see it for what it is, and never get complacent or too sure of your standing within it. Artists should always be willing to branch out and find new ways to express themselves, because the worst thing an artist's work can be seen as is dry and uninspired. For any artists who may be watching this video, remember that it's critically important to find your creative comfort zone, but it's equally as important to never get too comfortable there.
I also feel that's why I feel like a lot of hustlers very much succeed in this playing field, because they understand the simple fact that they can't just get it in one way. They gotta have these multiple streams, and if they don't, then, you know what I'm saying, they on their ass. So like when you see these hustlers, and you know what I'm saying, they haven't, you know what I'm saying. So like, I'm not gonna say do what they doing, because we don't really know what they doing, but you gotta look at the blueprint, bro. You know what I'm saying? You see these successful people, and they've been on top for so long. They haven't just been doing this one thing. You know what I'm saying? If music is all you want to do, for some people it works out, bro. But unfortunately, bro, the way that I see it now, bro, you gonna stay where you at for the rest of your life, because it's just like in this day and age, the music ain't even enough. You gotta have funny shit. You gotta, like he said, bro, like the white dude said, you gotta be funny. You gotta make him cry. You gotta do all of this. So like, we have to dip our hands as the culture in multiple baskets. You know what I'm saying? When I say the culture, I hope y'all know what I mean. But as a culture, we have to dip our hands in the multiple baskets in order to push ourselves ahead. Because if we don't, and I'm not talking about the folks that are, you know what I'm saying, doing what everybody else is doing. I'm talking about the unique motherfuckers, the people that are trying to push their sound forward and their culture forward, or, well, our culture forward. Like, we can't be complacent in our art, and we can't just feel like the art is just enough. You know what I'm saying? We have to feel like we have to keep pushing and succeeding, and we have to be figures more than we are musicians. We have to be figures more than we are musicians. And if we can get to that level, then that's when we'll start to see real progress, or that's when you'll start to see real progress in a career. And I'm listening to myself just as much as I'm telling y'all, because I'm in the same boat too. But man, that's just how I feel. But if there's anything y'all want me to react to, let me know. All of my shit is in the comments, or not comments, but all of my socials are in the description down below. And like, share, subscribe. It's your boy Nono Fudge. Bye.